Today we're going to do a very beginner-friendly intro to Python. This is for people who are going to do mathematical computing. This is also going to be for people who are just starting data science and they want to kind of understand what you can do in Python and kind of what Python is. So the first thing you want to do is download packages. So you can kind of think of packages as like the toolbox you're going to pull from. It has a library of things that you can do with it. So I'm going to put a little hashtag here and I'm going to put packages. And so what a hashtag does is it essentially creating a note for you. So when you run the code, it's not going to actually run that section. So what we want to do, especially with mathematical computing, is we're going to import numpy as np. And the reason why we do as NP is just because it makes it shorter for when we're referring to it later on in the code. And then we want to do import math. And so that's just importing math from there because it doesn't have it to begin with, but we're pulling it from the Python library. And so this right here we call a cell. And so I put both of those in there. And now to run the cell, what you can do is you can press Shift Return at the same time. What else you can do is you can come up here, press cell, and then you can just press run cell and it'll run it. And as you can see, there's a little number 2 because that was the second one that we ran. And so that is what packages are. And the next thing we're going to do, so for mathematical computing, we can do something simple like addition. So I'm going to write a little note to know that this is for addition. And so what we'll do is just pick something simple like 4 plus 1. That's all you need to do. Run your code and it'll output 5, which we know is correct. And then just the same thing with subtraction. We can do something like 41 minus 8. Run that, 33. And then for division, so for division, so we could take 14 slash 5, and that's going to give us division. So as you can see, we ran that. And then for multiplying in Python, what we can do is 12, and then you're going to use the star 4, and that's 48. Next, we can look at the power, or some people to the, and we would do 6, and then you do a double star, and that'll give us 36. So something that you are going to learn or have learned is something called mod or modding. And so if you are looking for that or to use that, we can do 12, and then you're going to use the percentage 5, and there we go. We know that should be 2. Now, if you're looking for other stuff, such as if you want to find the square root of a number, so it would be SQRT, and then if we're looking for the square root, such as 15, we can run that, and oh, there's an error. And the reason why there is an error is because normally this is not in Python's thing, we have to pull it from a package. So what we can do is math.square root 15, and then it'll give us the square root 15. Now, we can also do that for NP, and it'll also give us the same answer. So you can use math or you can use NP. You will get the same number. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a definition. So it can look a little scary at first, but I promise you it's not. So it's just when we want to define something in order to use it later in our code. And so we don't technically need to define anything for addition, but if we wanted to, we could. So we would have def, DEF, for definition. We can call this addition. And then what do we need? So what elements do we need to put in there? We need to have an X and we need to have a Y. Make sure we add those. And then what we'll need to do is either put return X plus Y, or what you can do is you can do print X plus Y. Either of those will work for your code, return or print. Some people prefer print. Either one will work for this. And so then how we do that is we do addition, 2, 3, and then ta-da, it'll give us the number. That was simple, but there will be harder ones, especially if we want to use a function on a list of numbers. So defining stuff can really help. So now if we're looking for pi, again, that is going to be in our math catalog. I'm going to pull that out. And if we're looking for E, that is also going to be in the catalog. So if I run this, it only gave me E. I wonder why. Well, how we get to show both is we actually have to print pi. Then we can print E, and it'll get us to show both of them. Or what you can also do is you can do print math.pi, comma, math.e, and it'll print them together side by side instead of printing one and then the other. Now, the last thing I want to go over is a loop. And so again, a loop can also be really tricky, especially someone who hasn't done code in general and is trying to better understand it. And so for a loop, you're going to have 4x in range, and then you have to give it the range. So x is our variable in some range. So we can have 0, 10. And then what do we want to do with this just for simplicity? And we can do some more later on, but for simplicity, we're just going to put print x. So it's going to go through the numbers and it's going to print each of those numbers in our range. As we can see, it did 0 to 9. And we're wondering, why didn't it print 10? Well, because again, remember our loop has a start value and then it has an end value. And the end value is essentially that number minus 1. So that'll conclude our very beginner friendly intro to Python. If you want, you can definitely go through and play with the numbers, kind of see, put your own numbers in there. You can try out different loops if you want. But the next video is going to be a little bit more mathematical computing compared to kind of just looking at the functions and seeing what we can do. So definitely tune into that.